Think about the breath you just took. Think about the blood flowing through your veins or your very capacity to feel pain. You probably take these for granted. But in the late 1930s, on the freezing plains of Manchuria, breathing was not a biological miracle for thousands of people. It was a countdown of torture. History books tell you about the front lines of World War II. They speak of tanks, planes, and the atomic bomb. But in the dusty, blood-stained archives of history, there is a folder so dark that opening it releases the cold stench of death. This was the Japanese Empire's Unit 731, hidden under the hollow mask of the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. This wasn't a prison, it wasn't a hospital, it was a factory of horror where living human beings were referred to as Maruta, or logs, a place where screams echoed against concrete walls only to vanish into silence. Chest cavities sliced open without anesthesia, intentional plague infections, and limbs frozen until they shattered like glass. Today, we aren't just looking at a dark past, we are uncovering the terrifying price paid for some of modern medicine's knowledge and how the monsters responsible walked away free. Brace yourselves, we are entering the darkest room in human history. But be warned, after this, you might find yourself a little more ashamed of the human race. The man behind Unit 731 was Dr. Shiro Ishii. Was he a man of science or a demon in a white coat? To Ishii, the Chinese, Russians, and Allied prisoners weren't humans. They were merely Maruta, or logs. In Japanese, this means logs or timber. Why? Because the facility was built under the guise of a lumber mill. Every human being who entered was nothing more than a piece of wood to be processed and incinerated. The most gruesome practice of Unit 731 was vivisection, live surgery. Doctors wanted to see how a disease spread through organs in real time, but there was a problem. Anesthesia altered the body's biological balance and contaminated the results. Their solution was simple yet soul-crushing. They strapped people to the table while they were fully awake and sliced their torsos open from top to bottom, while the victim's heart was still beating and their lungs were still gasping for air. Organs were removed one by one for examination. The screams, they were treated as nothing more than background noise. Unit 731 wasn't just a slaughterhouse, it was the world's largest biological weapons factory. Shiro Ishii had a dream to weaponize the Black Death. Inside the facility, millions of plague-infected fleas were bred in massive tanks. These fleas were packed in ceramic bombs and dropped over Chinese villages. The result? Tens of thousands of innocent civilians woke up to find black buboes on their bodies, marking their march toward death. Meanwhile, the scientists watched from aircraft above, analyzing the efficiency of the kill. They didn't stop there. Prisoners were intentionally injected with anthrax, cholera, and syphilis. The syphilis experiments on pregnant women remain history's most profound stain. These tests, designed to observe the development of the disease in a fetus, served no legitimate medical purpose. They were acts of pure, unadulterated sadism. Some experiments were so irrational that it was impossible to tell if the goal was science or pure torture. Frostbite experiments. Prisoners were tied outside in the bone-chilling Manchurian winter, naked. Their limbs were doused with water until they froze solid. A soldier would strike the limb with a club. If it shattered like glass, the ideal freezing point had been reached. Then they would plunge these frozen limbs into hot water to watch the skin peel away from the bone. Pressure chambers. Victims were placed in high-pressure chambers to see how long it took for their bodies to burst and their eyes to pop out of their sockets, all timed with a stopwatch.
starvation and dehydration. They abandoned victims to die just to see how long a human could survive on only water or only food. When the war ended, everyone assumed these monsters would hang, but that is where the true scandal began. As Japan surrendered, Shiro Ishii and his team tried to erase all evidence. They blew up the buildings and executed the remaining Marutas. However, the United States realized something. The data held by Unit 731 was priceless. No ethical board in the West would ever allow you to cut people open while they were alive. American officials made a deal. Give us the data and you get your freedom. Yes, you heard that correctly. Dr. Shiro Ishii and his team, the butchers of thousands, were granted immunity from war crimes tribunals. Many of them went on to become respected professors at Japan's top universities, founded pharmaceutical companies, and even led the Green Cross. Justice was sold for scientific data, paid for by the blood of the victims. Today, some of the knowledge we use in modern medicine, such as human survival limits or the treatment of frostbite, filtered down from the blood-soaked tables of Unit 731. This story teaches us one thing. The moment science detaches itself from morality and conscience, it becomes the most dangerous weapon on Earth. Unit 731 is not just a shame for Japan, it is a monument to the dark potential of the human species. Every atrocity forgotten is an atrocity destined to be repeated. Today, we chose to remember, because that is what we owe to the thousands of Marutas whose screams were lost within those walls. What do you think? Is every path justified in the name of science, or was the release of Shiro Ishii the final bullet fired at humanity's faith in justice? Let's discuss in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on history's darkest files. Until the next one.